Hello everyone, Keza today, and it is Thanksgiving, which means turkeys, Indians, pilgrims, and all that fun stuff. But before I get into fighting that too much, let's do a quick look at Clean Up Britannia, or CUB, the new system that was just released to both kind of take care of the hoarding problem that's been happening on UOR for 7 years, and also to just prevent hoarding and item growth over time. It'll help with world save times in the long run for sure. What you're seeing run right here is a sped up version of my house cleanup. I did have a hoarder house, but don't worry, I dropped it after I got finished emptying it. It had only been serving a purpose to save me hours and hours worth of transferring a bunch of junk items to another house. And many people did this, and if you did have a hoarder house like I did, I do encourage you to drop it after you're done using it. But yeah, I just dumped everything in the cleanup barrel. I had maybe like 3 out of 10,000 items that didn't process. As this is a phase 1 of Cleanup Britannia, there are a few items that were missed, such as like small rares and various little things that will be added in a later patch. But for the most part, it was released, like 99%, maybe more than that, of items that can be taken are already taken by the Cleanup Britannia barrel. So it is pretty much in full effect right now. The thing that's not in effect is the reward system. You are getting copper assigned to the barrel, but you cannot claim that copper and spend it at the immediate moment. But moving on to the Thanksgiving spawn, and the fact that there are some new arrivals, and yes, I did play a hand in helping design these new monsters for Thanksgiving. I'm not really going to go over what each of them do. That's kind of for you guys to figure out what they do and how to fight them. That's part of the fun of it. But it is definitely different from previous Thanksgivings in that the mounted turkey, pilgrims, and Indians now summon 2 to 4 of these support minions. The thing that's thrown people about this is you can no longer rush into a fight against an Indian or pilgrim and expect an easy victory. It's better to blast them, get the summons to come up, and then you can separate your enemies and fight them, according to your own plan. Depending on which ones get summoned, the fight might be a little different. Some of them behave differently, such as the healer types. There is a healer for the pilgrims and Indians, but luckily they pretty much just sit there and heal, so you can kind of separate them out easily by running off the other monsters that will actually chase you. I'm not going to show a lot of me killing them with tames because, you guys kill a lot of stuff with tames too, and it's just, you've already seen my Frenzy Ostards and these bears. I'm just really showing how to initiate these fights, as that is the primary issue people are going to have this year, is just starting the fight. Once you are able to get 1 or 2 monsters on their own, it's really not a big deal. The next question, of course, is then what's the best way to kill these things? Is it with a tamer, a bard, a dexer, some mix of those? I'd say a mix of those would be good. If you do have a tamer and a bard that can work together, that would be great. Of course, these are also susceptible to poison, but I know a lot of you don't run a scorpion pack, which is, it's your loss. It's really just such a fun build, and you only need 50 taming on a character to get it, so, just try it sometime. It's so fun. And surprisingly, the scorpions can tank these things. They only have about 100 hit points, so, they might die here or there, but just let them die. That's what I do. Another tactic, if you like to single box, is of course to use a bard dexer. Now, I'm not going to lie, starting out the fights with a provo character can be a little rough. The Indians and pilgrims that are mounted have a barding difficulty of around 135, and we set up the minions to have a difficulty of around 125. So even with the GM instrument, you're going to see fails more than 50% of the time. And I mean, that's just to ensure that bards can't run the entire event, basically, because I mean, you're going to have provo characters with tamers or with just standalone bards. And if all the monsters could just be provoed every single time, that would be a little too easy. So starting these fights, you can see here, it can be, you know, you'll get flame strike, you'll get blasted, and you'll just run around in circles until you land a provo. So that's the downside of doing this. The upside is that using a single Dexer, you can do more damage than you can with 2 tamers. And you may be finding that difficult to believe, but you'll see what tactics I'm using here. It is an awful lot, and I don't expect the average player to use every single trick in the book that I'm using right here on my Firebard. But just the rundown of it is that, I mean, starting off with Provo, the monsters are doing damage to each other. I have increased the character's stats with potions, and then I'm also using, of course, the Firehorn to blast them for, the base damage is like 40 to 80, and that gets spread out over however many targets there are. So if I'm just fighting a single target, you know, it might hit him for up to 80 every 10 seconds when I can use the Firehorn. But that costs a lot of weight and ash. I'm also throwing fire bombs, which are 45 damage on average each, and those can be running every about 12-13 seconds. They take a full 10 seconds to run down. And then I am also, of course, using Discordance on this character to lower the monster's hit points, in addition to using Deadly Poison for additional damage. The weapon I'm using here is just a short Spear of Vanquishing, which, I mean, only costs a few K to get. So it's really not that hard a build to set up. It just definitely takes time to set up and then get used to playing. The fire bombs can disrupt which target you're hitting, so be aware of that if you're trying to use those. Quick note, the fire bomb was also recently updated to not burn where a fire field currently burns, which I think was a good update because being able to machine gun 45 hit point DOTs was a little crazy. So now they're scaled back to something a little more reasonable where they have to finish burning before you can throw another one. And the real reason that one Dexer can do more damage than 2 Tamers is, of course, because Tame's damage is greatly reduced to these event monsters. I believe it's reduced by down to 1/3 on the mounted, and then about 1/2 on the support minions. So you can have your 4 dragons, 6 dragons, whatever, attacking these things for a while, and you're just going to be sitting there for a while. If you do like more challenging gameplay, I would recommend a character closer to this. You don't have to, of course, have all this craziness. This is like a full arsenal for PVM. You cannot really have much more damage added per second than doing something like this, where you're throwing down like just fire bombs, fire horn, poison, just all that stuff. So yeah, it is a lot of fun for me to do this. I definitely prefer a playstyle closer to this than saying all kill and then just waiting for the fight to end. Another fun build I like to use, of course, is the Aussie tank build with my usual Ostard. You can use a Warhorse if you want. They are much more dependable with their 400 hit points. But either way, they work. I use a Axer that switches off to poisoning. So lots of damage there. Not using, of course, the Firehorn or Firebombs so much on this character. Firebombs are a little difficult to use if you have Tames out on the field because they switch up aggro. I have been trying to use them, but with limited success because then you end up targeting your own Tame. So that's a little tricky. And they don't add enough damage to, I think, really be worth using a lot like that. But I mean, as you can see, you can kill stuff with it. And I've also, gotten myself killed during these fights. I still make mistakes. I take wrong steps and get aggro where I'm not supposed to. Get flame strike down. It's pretty funny. Gotten plenty of Tames killed, especially things like scorpions. Those guys just get like 2 to 3 hitted by some of these. And just so you know, like on this bear you're seeing here, they are a new type of thing to fight where they more or less wander around, not engaging the fight. But when you engage them, they'll fight you, but they just don't stay still. So if you're using scorpions like this, oh man, they get wrecked because you cannot focus on which one to heal. But I'm sure you guys have noticed that. Now, as much as I'd like to do a more comprehensive coverage of exactly which monsters do what for these new minions and new arrivals, I'll let you guys figure that one out. I already went over quite a bit of it, so you know there's healers, there's new types of things to fight. Just select which things you're gonna fight in combat. I will give you a free tip that if there is a healer near you, paralyzing it is not a bad idea. So you can try that little tactic. But yeah, mostly I've been doing this, just blasting the heck out of things, or grabbing multiple tamers and using that tactic, because of course that will work. You just need to have more than one tamer. One tamer is not going to yield nearly as much damage as what you're seeing right here. But anyways, that is all I have time for now. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can always leave them here, and hopefully I see you around sometime in game. Later.